Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 4 in the DenScript Uno video series. So far we've already learned how to turn an LED on and how to use the serial communications between the DenScript Uno and the computer. Today we're going to use what's called variables, and variables are a way we can store information during a program. We're going to use this with serial communications so we can get some feedback for our variables, and you only need DenScript Uno to do this. We're going to pop over to the computer so you can see what we're doing. We're going to use variables which are known as integers in this video. Now an integer is just a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. There's also what are called floats. They are numbers that can have decimals, so like 1.5 or 2.3. There's also variables known as strings. They are collections of letters and numbers. So for example, the phrase hello world, that is a string. Hello world 123, that is also a string. And we've also got Boolean variables. Now Boolean is a true or false value, and we're going to cover all of those other variables later on, but today we're going to be using variables which are known as integers, just whole numbers. Let's pop over to the computer so you can see what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to make a new sketch this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go File, New, and it will open up a new sketch. I'm just going to make that full screen to make it easier. Again, let's put at the top what we're doing. So this is going to be variable testing, and I'm going to put the date in, which is June 17th, 2020. In the void setup here, what we need to put is, again, like we did in the last program, serial.begin 9600 semicolon. Again, making sure you've got all the right capitals and lowercase and the dot there. Again, you've got 9600 inside some brackets, and that you have a semicolon at the end there. And I'm just going to comment again, start serial port at 9600 speed. Perfect. Again, just so that we know, I'm going to put in a serial.print line, and I'm going to put in ready. Tell the computer we are ready. Perfect. And I just like, because it looks neater, keeping all the comments in line. Now we're going to go into the void loop down here. But before we do, we need to actually define our variable. And to do that, we're going to come up, back above void loop and above void setup. And we're going to define an integer. Now an integer is a whole number. And this is how we do it. Integer is shortened in Arduino to the word int. So we put int, and I'm just going to call it number 1. And that's it. Semicolon. So int number 1. Now, I would never recommend in a program where you've got lots of variables just using the name number 1. You should usually call it counter or something like that. Or if you're maybe class size or age, depending on what's going on. But just for now, I'm going to call it number 1. Now, currently, that has been just set as variable number 1, and I've not given it a value. Okay, so we've got an integer which is whole number called number 1, but it doesn't have a value. I'm going to give it a value now by getting rid of that semicolon, doing equals and 0, and then put the next semicolon in. Now, we could put this statement here inside void setup. But if we did that, that's then called a local variable, and we can only access that variable within these brackets here, these curly brackets. We cannot get it in the loop, we cannot get it anywhere else. Similarly, we could put int number 1 equals 0 in the void loop, but not only again that would be a local variable and we would not be able to get it outside of these curly brackets, because the loop repeats, the variable would always be set back to 1 or 0, so it'd always be set back to its start point, and so it's just not good to do that. So we define the variable right at the top here, and that's called a global variable because it can now be accessed by both the setup and the loop and any other voids that we add. So this is called a global variable if it's put at the top. If it's put in a void, it's called a local variable. Most of the time, you'll probably be using a global variable. And so that's what we got there. And I'm going to just, again, put a comment in. Global variable of number 1 as integer. There we go. Good stuff. Now we're going to go into void loop. And I'm going to do number 1 equals number 1 plus 1. What does that mean? Every time we loop, number 1 is going to increase by 1. Basically simple. We could change that. If we did minus 1, then same idea, but it's going to obviously lose a number rather than we're going to add a number. We're going to keep it the plus though. Again, make sure you've got the semicolon, and make sure that that number 1 is exactly the same as that number 1, because we're talking about this thing here. If I put a capital there, we're now talking about something completely different. We've got to keep the lower cases. Okay, so this is what we do next. We've got our variable repeating, but we're going to want to get some feedback, and that is why we have produced the serial port here. We've initialized the serial port here. What I'm going to do is, down here, I'm going to put serial dot print line. Remember, it's print ln, and then I'm going to put number 1, semicolon, and then comment. And the comment will just be send number 1 over the serial port. And I just realised I don't have a comment there, so let's put a comment in there. It's just going to be increase number 1 by 1. There we go. Now here we do not put number 1 inside speech marks like we did with ready, because number 1 is not a string. A string is a collection of letters and numbers that is being shown as text. But number 1 is not a string, it is a variable that we've predefined here as an integer. So we do not put these speech marks. We just keep it like that. Okay. After that, I'm just going to put in a delay for half a second. The reason I'm just going to do that is because otherwise we'll get the numbers come through so quickly, we're just not going to understand what's going on. Once we've done that, let's go again to Tools, check you've got the right port, check you've got the right Arduino, and once you've got all that done, we're going to hit Upload. And I'm going to save this as variable testing 1. Save it there. It is compiling and uploading. Now it's done uploading. Let's have a look at the serial monitor, and you'll see that what we get is we get the number increasing as we go up and up and up. Now, just to give you an idea of why I put in this delay, I'm going to comment that delay out right now, and I'm going to upload it again, and you'll see what I mean. Let's go Tools, serial monitor. Yeah, it's going quite fast. So that's why I put the delay in there. Upload that again. And we go to serial monitor, and you see it coming through there. Now, if I, obviously, as you might be able to guess, if I put +2 and try that one, it's going up in multiples of 2. And if I put -1, oh sorry, upload, you see it's counting negatively. But that is it. That is basics of integer variables. So what we've done there is we've actually made a count. We've made a counter, and every time the program loops, that counter is increasing by 1 and printing that out to the serial monitor. That is the beginnings and the basics of using variables. Now, as I said before, there are many different variable types. We've got integers, we've got floats, we've got boolean, we've got string. We're going to cover all of those in the future. But integer is a whole number, and what we've just done there is, as we've defined the integer, we've initialized the serial, and then we're increasing the integer by 1 and sending it out to the serial monitor with a half-second delay there. So let's go back to the main camera. And there we are. You've now made a program where your DenScript Uno has generated a variable, you've then manipulated that variable and then sent that variable back to your computer using serial communications. This will form the basis, especially with the variables, of so many different things that you'll use in future projects. Now, next time we're going to be covering something known as an if statement. If statements allow your DenScript Uno to actually make a decision based on certain inputs or the values of variables. We're going to cover all of that next time. After that, we're going to bring some inputs in, such as the tactile switch that we mentioned previously and the LDR, the light dependent resistor. But all that's coming into the future. We're also going to set some challenges later on for you guys to have a go at. And of course, not to worry, I will explain the solutions to all of the challenges in future videos. I look forward to seeing you next time. Please like, comment and subscribe. And as always, check out the tutorial page that goes along with this video. That's linked in the description. See you very soon. Have a great and wonderful day. Goodbye.